For 23 years, I believed I was loved. She laughed at my pain, calling it affection. But today, I walked in and everything I held dear shattered. Her voice, moaning another man's name, was a knife to my throat. I filmed it all. The betrayal, the lies, the mockery. My own brother-in-law. I wanted to believe it was another prank, but this was real. I am not the same man I was before. They think they know me. They have no idea what's coming. Feeling a familiar unease, Peter stepped into his sister-in-law's garden. Family gatherings with his in-laws always made him nervous, except for his sister-in-law. The family, including his wife, Victoria, whom he had been married to for 23 years, possessed a boisterous sense of humor, one Peter often felt was directed at him. He had voiced his concerns to Victoria multiple times, warning that her family might one day cross a line, impacting their marriage. Victoria, however, had always dismissed his worries with a laugh, convinced they were merely joking. Victoria had gone the day before to help with the preparations, taking the car. Peter, choosing a more solitary approach, decided to walk the 30 miles to reach the destination. He had his reasons. First, he relished long walks, and for him, 30 miles presented a satisfying challenge, a journey that would span approximately 8 hours. Second, arriving later meant he could sidestep some of the initial, overwhelming chaos. The trouble was, when the whole family gathered, things often escalated. One time they played a prank that led to him shaving his head after they found it amusing to glue a wig onto him. Another incident left Peter with sore ribs a week later. His brother-in-law, thinking it humorous to give him a hard pat on the back, knowing it would cause pain, had initiated it. Peter endured the discomfort, but he pushed back when the jokes became too much, accidentally leading to the man getting hurt. Even then, his in-laws failed to heed his hints, and Victoria was upset with Peter for standing up for himself. It was at that point he firmly told her that if the jokes continued, she might want to consider her options. Thus, Peter's relationship with his in-laws was undeniably precarious. At 45, most people wouldn't perceive Peter as threatening. He had dark hair with streaks of gray, a warm, tanned face, and brown-green eyes. He was shy, usually revealing his caring, humorous, and intelligent side only to those he trusted. He volunteered at a local community center, teaching children self-defense and assisting them with their schoolwork. Most of the time, he remained calm. However, if pushed too far, he could react strongly, but only when truly provoked. Standing at 6 feet tall and weighing 160 pounds, Peter was fit and slim, his muscles subtly evident with his movements. He preferred to dress simply, often opting for long-sleeve shirts and loose pants to maintain a low profile. He was also private about his physical appearance. In addition to walking, he practiced Tai Chi, Qigong, and Wushu, working out daily. Peter relied on his Tai Chi exercises to manage his temper. Growing up in a tough neighborhood, his slim build had made him an easy target for bullies. That changed when he decided to stand up for himself. Eventually, the larger boys realized that staying away from him was the sensible choice. From a young age, Peter understood that he wouldn't grow up to be particularly strong. Then he saw a ballet dancer on television and knew he needed a new way to stay fit. This inspired him to explore different forms of exercise. Despite facing difficult times in his life, he worked hard and found a job in a civil engineering company that constructed large structures like dams and channels worldwide. Peter began his career at the company when he was 18, shortly after losing his parents and younger brother in a tragic accident. Their car had been caught in a flood during a storm. At work, he met Kevin Rhodes while digging a channel. The foreman recognized Peter's dedication and intelligence and took him under his wing. Kevin, however, resented this, viewing Peter as a threat. When Peter spotted a mistake in a dam's blueprint, the foreman sent him with a letter of recommendation to the site manager. After discussing his skills, Peter was offered a job as an apprentice planner. His career progressed steadily, and soon he became quite successful, now earning a high salary as a senior logistics planner, handling important projects, much to Kevin's jealousy, who was now his brother-in-law. They both met their future wives at a party when Peter was 20. Elizabeth had just turned 18 and worked part-time as a receptionist at their company. She brought her sister, Victoria, who was 5 years older, to keep an eye on her, since Elizabeth couldn't go alone. At the party, the girls garnered significant attention from the men. while Peter quietly observed from the bar, sipping water with a slice of lemon. As the girls danced with Kevin and another coworker, a problem arose at the bar when someone attempted to tamper with one of their drinks. Peter noticed and quickly intervened, stopping the person before anything could happen. When security arrived to investigate, Peter explained what had occurred, which caught the sisters' interest. As the evening progressed, Victoria observed that Peter was also drawing attention from other guests. One girl who had seen him at the company-sponsored gym was discussing how different his workout routine was, and it was evident in his physique. She approached him, taken by his quiet demeanor. Gathering her courage, Victoria asked him for a dance. Peter agreed, and Victoria was impressed by his gentle manner. They began dating. To Victoria's disappointment, Peter always bid farewell with just a light peck on her cheek. She longed for a closer bond, but Peter maintained his distance. Driven by her determination, she enlisted Elizabeth's help. The next day, Elizabeth boldly approached Peter during their lunch break and asked, "Peter, can I ask you something?" "Sure, Elizabeth, what's on your mind?" "Do you have feelings for my sister?" "Of course, she's amazing. I like her a lot, otherwise I wouldn't be dating her, right?" "Then why haven't you tried to show her you care? Why would she want that from me? She has so many admirers." "Why would I stand out to her?" "Because she really likes you. You need to pay more attention." Elizabeth sighed in frustration and called her sister to share what had just happened. Feeling stirred, Victoria resolved to take matters into her own hands. A year later, they were married. Elizabeth and Kevin took much longer to become a couple. Initially, their relationship experienced many ups and downs. It wasn't until Elizabeth told Kevin he had to choose between remaining single or losing her for good that he finally committed, and they married. Kevin discovered that Victoria and her brother enjoyed pulling pranks and decided to participate, aiming to annoy Peter. At first, the pranks were harmless, but they soon turned meaner. Peter mostly remained quiet, enduring the teasing. He warned Victoria that one day things would go too far, but the jokers failed to grasp how their actions affected him. His only coping mechanisms were conversations with Elizabeth and writing in his diary. Since his parents had passed away, Peter and Victoria were fortunate to have 3 children, a daughter aged 22 and 2 sons who were 20 and 18. The children were all forging their own successful paths. Miranda, their daughter, was particularly close to Peter, while the boys gravitated more towards their mother. Peter felt a growing sense of unease as he stepped into the garden. He surveyed the scene, observing the family members' interactions, and a thought formed. They're planning something again. As he walked around, he caught the sneaky looks they exchanged and their sideways glances at him. He sat down and waited, but nothing happened. Finally, Peter decided to go upstairs to take a shower. Inside the house, he climbed the stairs and heard Victoria's enthusiastic voice. He was taken aback, a sense of dread filling him. Please, he thought, let it be a joke this time. Quietly, he stepped away from the door and sank into a chair. The smirks on his family's faces only fueled his anger, and he sat there, staring ahead, a simmering frustration building within him. Eventually, Kevin emerged and made a comment that seemed to break something within Peter. Years of pent-up frustration surged to the surface. In just a few quick strides, Peter stood face to face with Kevin. Though Kevin was larger, Peter's anger was overwhelming, and during their struggle, Kevin was hurt. Some family members attempted to intervene, but Peter wouldn't listen. Gloria entered with a smile, asking if the joke had worked. Upon seeing the scene, her smile vanished. "What happened?" she gasped. Her sister, very angry, shouted, "Yes, he fell for it. Now you have to deal with what you've done. You went too far this time." Gloria, feeling scared, worried, "Where is he? I need to talk to him." "He left." He got upset and just walked out after grabbing his backpack. "I'm going to find him and bring him back." "No, you're not. You need to fix this mess you all made. This could ruin your marriage." "What? It was just a joke," Victoria yelled. "Tell that to Peter," her sister answered coldly. "Even I hardly believe it was just a joke. I warned you this was too much, and now you've really hurt him. He won't listen to you anymore." Elizabeth, still upset, added, "Even if you try to explain that it was meant to be funny, he'll still want to leave you. He told you before, and now you've gone too far. You did this, and now he's fighting back. Now, how are you going to convince me this was a joke and not something wrong? You and Kevin have a lot to explain. I can see 2 divorces coming soon. I don't think I can stay married to someone who plays such hurtful tricks." Victoria sat down on a bench, realizing how serious things had become. Her sister's words stung. Nothing bad had truly happened, but how could you prove that? Now her sister was talking about ending her marriage because of their joke. Did we really mess up? Victoria sighed. That's an understatement, her sister replied. Now let's go join our brothers and help them. The ambulance and police were trying to speak with Kevin. Kevin stated, I'm going to take action against this guy. Elizabeth quickly responded, Oh, no, you can't. This is your fault, Kevin. Kevin, look at me, Elizabeth asked. Kevin looked up and said, What? Confused. Do you want to stay married to me? Yes, of course. Why are you asking? He replied. Elizabeth said firmly, Then you can't take any action. This was your prank that went wrong. Because of this, I'm thinking about separating. If you press charges, our marriage is over. Do you understand? Kevin looked surprised. What? What do you mean? Kevin, this prank really affected my sister, and Peter is hurt by it. If you want to file a complaint, I'll definitely think about ending things between us. If you don't, we might still have a chance to fix this. Do you understand? When Kevin quietly replied, Yes, Elizabeth turned to her brothers. You all knew what was going to happen today, and you helped make things hard for Peter for so long. Now he's had enough. You really didn't see how strong he is, did you? She looked at her brothers' wives. Take this group and help them see how serious their actions were. I think it's time to end this gathering. With that, she assisted Kevin into the ambulance and suggested he take a taxi. After their visit to the hospital, Victoria was still sitting in shock on the bench, her younger sister beside her. She wondered aloud, What have I done? I need to make things right. I must talk to him and let him know I care. Elizabeth scoffed. Care? That's an interesting way to show it. I warned you. Our sisters-in-law warned you. Even Mom and Dad warned you. But no, you, your brothers, and my husband had to keep putting Peter down with your hurtful jokes. They even made fun of him in the hospital. He only pushed back once, and that should have been a signal. This time you've gone too far. You can't sink any lower. Let me ask you, Elizabeth continued, have you really looked at your husband lately? He's a clever and kind person, strong underneath those loose shirts. He's just as smart as anyone and strong, which he showed when he stood up to Kevin. He can defend himself, but he always thought about what might happen if he fought back. He was scared of this ending, and honestly, the few times I saw him in swimwear showed me what he could do. How do you think you can mend your marriage now? Tell him it was just a joke. He won't believe you. Can't you see that I don't believe you either? If you think you can convince him to forget it and everything will return to normal, you're very mistaken. I'm afraid you're on the road to a breakup. How much did you drink? Elizabeth asked. Can you drive? Victoria nodded. Yes. Elizabeth continued, Then I think you should go home. If you're lucky, you might catch him before he goes again. Later that evening, Victoria was sitting at the dining table when Peter walked in, looking tired. She jumped up and exclaimed, Thank goodness you're home, Peter muttered. For now. I'll be leaving soon, so don't worry. No, please don't go. It was just a joke. Nothing really happened. Victoria fell back onto the couch, feeling upset. And why should I believe you? I saw what happened. I even have proof. Don't tell me nothing happened after what I saw. It didn't happen. Please believe me, Victoria pleaded. Here, Peter said angrily, handing her his phone. Victoria watched the video, and she saw herself in a difficult situation. Her face was turned away, and she realized how damaging this recording could be for her marriage. That was out of line, she admitted. That's pretty common in situations like this, Peter replied. You were part of a prank, but now it's too late. I didn't do anything wrong. It was just a prank. Why won't you believe me? Regardless of the situation, the results are the same. What do you mean by that? I'm going to end this marriage, whether you played a trick on me or not. I'm done. I can't keep dealing with how I've been treated by you and your family. I'm really sorry to hear that you're feeling this way, Peter told her. It's important that you talk to someone who can help, like a mental health professional or a trusted friend. He was used to being pranked and imagined how shocked he would be to find out he fell for it again. The other wives, including her sister, strongly disagreed and wanted no part of it. When Kevin suggested she was being too careful, she finally gave in. Everything started to make sense. Kevin felt left out and wanted to challenge her. He even hinted at things that might make it more exciting. She firmly said no, but when she found herself in a tricky spot, he moved forward. She felt uneasy, confused about what was happening. He wanted to go into the garden first, when they thought Peter had heard enough. Kevin left quickly, taking longer than they expected. They never thought that Peter had the idea to record everything. When Kevin returned, there was a brief silence before chaos began. She rushed outside, shocked by what she saw. Kevin was hurt, and two of her brothers were on the deck, one looking uncomfortable while the other was still. Victoria grabbed her phone and called her sister, Elizabeth. "I need your help," Victoria said, her voice shaky. "I messed up big time. I can't fix what I did. Peter recorded everything, and it's going to hurt my marriage. I'll do anything to get him to forgive me. Can I come over to show you the recording, or can you come here? By the way, Peter isn't home. He left early this morning, and I think he's really upset." "You should keep your distance for now," Elizabeth replied. "It's too late for that. You should have thought about it earlier. I'll be there in an hour. Make it worth my time." Meanwhile, Peter was dealing with a tough situation. He went to his boss and asked for a few days off for personal reasons. His manager noticed that something was very off. She had never seen Peter so upset. Most people saw him as calm and steady, even when things were tough. Samantha asked him to wait and stepped out for a moment. A few minutes later, she returned with the HR manager. "Personal reasons, Peter? Something is clearly really bothering you. You should take a break before you do something you might regret. Talking about what's happening might help. By the way, do you know Becky? She's our HR manager and also a licensed counselor. If you'd like, I can step out, just so you know everything you share stays between us." For a few moments, the office was very quiet. Peter took a shaky breath and began to speak, tears rolling down his face as he shared his feelings. When he finished, Becky said, "I understand that you lost your temper. Many would in your situation. Can you explain why?" Peter thought for a moment and answered, "There are two reasons. I loved my wife and I do Tai Chi. The first thing they teach is self-control." Samantha added, "You said I loved my wife. Does that mean you don't feel that way anymore?" I really don't know. The scenes from what I saw still haunt me. I feel empty inside." Becky asked, "Peter, what do you want to do now? Are you thinking about a divorce? Do you think your wife's family will get involved?" "Yes. I'm going to divorce Victoria. I've had enough. I warned her many times, but she just couldn't stop. Now I need to take care of myself. I don't trust myself anymore. I'm afraid that if I see those people again, I might lose control." Becky thought for a moment and said, "I can find you a temporary place to stay. It won't be fancy, but it will be safe. Can you manage for now? I'll speak to your wife and ask her to keep her family out of this. Maybe I'll look for a motel or something if I feel overwhelmed." Samantha returned after a while. She listened to what Becky shared and then said, "I can recommend a good family lawyer. He helped me during my divorce and is very skilled. The company will provide a lawyer if your wife's family makes a complaint. Also, you should take a leave of absence until further notice. From now on, Becky will be your counselor. Is that clear?" Peter felt a bit shocked. He said softly, "I understand. What I don't understand is why you're being so helpful." Samantha replied, "You don't realize how others in this company think of you, do you? You're well-liked and respected for your professionalism. You are saying, 'Be tough on the work, but careful with people,' is something I try to follow. You are my role model. Now go grab a coffee and then head home to get your things." Victoria and Elizabeth were having coffee in the kitchen. Elizabeth was upset after watching a video. "Dishonest person," she declared, along with many other strong feelings that Victoria didn't expect to hear. Gently, Victoria replied, "I'm really sorry. You were right. I shouldn't have done it. Now 2 marriages are in trouble." Elizabeth looked at her sister sharply. "Can't you see? If Kevin can treat you poorly, what else can he do? He lied to me about you. It was the prank that made me understand you didn't mean to hurt me. But he really let me down. So, I'm going to end my marriage, just like Peter will with you. And I will be here when Peter is single again." Victoria's face turned pale. She looked at her sister. "He isn't divorced yet. You should stay away, dear sister." "Oh, I'm not lying, and neither's Peter. I'll wait until he's free." Victoria couldn't believe what her sister had said. She stuttered, "You're going to go after my husband? My sister wants to take my husband?" Tears started to fall. Victoria's phone rang. She saw an unknown number and thought it might be Peter, so she answered and put it on speaker so Elizabeth could hear. "Victoria Van Rye speaking. This is Samantha Beavis from Global Constructions. I just spoke with your husband and the company counselor." "One moment, please," Victoria said, stepping out of the kitchen. When she returned, her cheeks were wet with tears. That was his boss. Peter has been told to stay away from stressful situations. If I try to keep my family away from him, what is he going through? Victoria, don't act like a victim. You caused this, not anyone else. Peter's the one who is suffering. You started with silly jokes. The jokes got out of hand. And you didn't listen to Peter, me, or your family. Now you've crossed a line, and suddenly you want to know what he is doing? To you, did you ever really care for him? Or was he just someone you could joke about? Have you ever said sorry for the hurt he felt? No, it was just a joke. And let me ask, did you ever see Peter doing Tai Chi or working out? Do you know what his job is? Victoria looked shaken. She stuttered, What do you mean? That was an accident. He was tripped and we never meant for him to fall so hard. We didn't want to hurt him. But what about his job? He's just an administrator, and what's so special about that? And fighting? Peter couldn't hurt anything. That Tai Chi thing is as gentle as could be. Suddenly, she went quiet. A look of understanding crossed her face as she said, Oh no. Yesterday, he showed that he was more capable than she realized. 3 men were down, and he simply walked away with all the noise. I completely forgot about that event. Yesterday, was that where he got his strength? I'm not really sure what kind of job Peter has. I guess you'll tell me, right? If you had taken the time to talk to your husband instead of finding ways to criticize him and spend his money, you would know. He teaches self-defense and Tai Chi to kids and helps with their homework. And about his job, have you heard of the Suez Canal or Dubai? The company doing the dredging there employs Peter, and he's involved in planning some big projects. But no, all you cared about was how fast you could use his money. When was the last time you showed him you cared? Do you even appreciate him? You took him for granted. So tell me, how many relationships have you complicated in the meantime? I know Peter felt very down for a while. Victoria's face went from pale to red. Angrily, she said, I never betrayed Peter. I never have. I love him. Elizabeth replied, Then why do you treat him like this? Peter and I talked a lot, and we share almost everything. Suddenly, they heard a car and looked outside. Peter got out and went to the front door. Victoria seemed frozen, and before she could react, Peter was upstairs and in their bedroom. She followed along with Elizabeth and hesitantly asked, You're not working? What are you doing here? In an emotionless voice, Peter replied, I'm on leave for now. In a few days, I will find a new place to stay, so I'll start packing. Victoria stuttered, You're really going to leave me over a joke? No way. No, it's not just one joke, but everything you and your family have done to me that has been more than enough. Now, please leave me alone. But I love you, and you love me. You don't love me. You like making my life difficult and spending my money. You don't truly love me. As for me, I don't feel anything for you anymore. That last joke hurt too much. I won't go through that again. I'll stay in a motel until I find something else. After I leave, my lawyer will contact you. With that, he turned his back to the women and continued packing. Both women were shocked by Peter's firmness. They left him alone. Back in the kitchen, Victoria took a deep breath and said to Elizabeth, You know, he's right. I've been terrible to Peter. I wanted him to show his feelings, but he didn't. Now I see I acted unfairly. I want to save my marriage. I know I love him, but how can I show that after everything that's happened? Elizabeth sighed. I can't help you, and to be honest, I don't want to. I've liked Peter since that incident with our brother. I respected your marriage more than you did. I'll stay away until it's really over, which will be when your divorce is final. I'll continue seeing Peter, but I won't overstep my boundaries. With that, Elizabeth left, Victoria to deal with her own issues. Kevin was in the hospital, and Victoria needed to take him some clothes and personal items. She decided to keep her visit short. Kevin had shown a side of himself that she didn't like, and she wanted to limit her time around him. A few hours later, Victoria knocked on the door of the spare bedroom, gently calling, Dinner is ready. Good appetite, came the reply. Don't you want dinner? Not from you. I promise it will be safe. I'm not so sure. You tried something before and it didn't go well. I can't risk that again. I'll eat out. Upset, Victoria hurried down to the kitchen. The next day, Victoria hardly slept and felt drained. She imagined ways to win Peter back, but in the end, she couldn't even talk to him. He was completely avoiding her. Peter was meeting with the lawyer Samantha had recommended. The lawyer was offering guidance because Peter just wanted to escape the situation. After a long talk, he decided to give the lawyer the authority to act on his behalf so she could handle things. When he moved out and had a new address, he wanted to avoid any emotional drama. 2 days later, Peter looked around his new apartment. It was small but affordable and close to work. It had one bedroom, a living room, a bathroom with just a shower, a separate toilet, a little kitchen, and a balcony on the top floor. He made a list of things he needed and another list of items that would make his life easier. He thought about buying a bike for commuting. He walked back to the office to sign the lease and would get the keys in a week. When he got there, he saw Elizabeth sitting at the reception desk. He tried to walk by, but she called him back. Reluctantly, he approached her. "Please, Peter, don't ignore me. I have nothing to do with what happened. I always said it was a bad idea," Elizabeth said, looking around to make sure they were alone. "I'm also going to divorce Kevin. I can't stay with a man who acts like that. I'm not going to mislead you into getting back with Victoria, but you should know she didn't cheat with Kevin. I don't know, Elizabeth, honestly. They just want to blame me. That recording says otherwise. No matter what they try to convince me of, I'm going to divorce her anyway. I've had enough. I'm so tired of it that I gave my lawyer the power to act on my behalf. I just want to leave it all behind. I have found a new place to live, so I'll be out of your lives soon." Elizabeth was taken aback by how final his words sounded. "Peter, please, can we at least be friends? I promise I won't get in the way of your divorce, and I really want to see you again. I've always liked you a lot." Peter thought for a moment and replied with a sad smile, his voice showing his sadness. "Of course we can be friends. How about we have dinner together tonight and talk some more?" Elizabeth felt a wave of relief. At least Peter wasn't shutting her out, and she agreed right away. Peter continued on to sign the lease for his new home. Dinner that evening started off a bit uncomfortable, but soon they both felt more at ease. Peter asked Elizabeth, "Are you really going to go through with the divorce from Kevin?" "Yes, the last 2 years of my marriage have been tough. I think he may have been seeing someone else, but I can't be sure. The last incident really made me decide it was just too hurtful. Do you have a lawyer yet? If not, I can recommend mine. I'll think about it. So, what are your plans now that you have a new place? When do you move?" "As soon as I know that Victoria isn't around. I want to avoid any emotional scenes. To me, you're the only family I have left." Elizabeth then asked if Peter remembered when the trouble began. Peter took a moment to think and responded, "I believe I do." "Do you remember that hike the company organized about 9 years ago?" Elizabeth nodded. She remembered being there, newly married to Kevin. Peter went. Victoria stayed home because she had to work. Their parents took care of the kids. They were split into groups on the hike, with less experienced hikers going first, so the more experienced ones could help them on the final tough stretch. She was with the first group, Kevin was in the second, and Peter was in the last group. Since he often hiked with his kids, he came prepared with a first aid kit, a handheld GPS, a map, and a backpack with snacks and water. When he arrived, he set down his backpack to check the assignment and entered the destination coordinates into his GPS. But when he picked up his backpack again, it felt different and heavier. So he investigated. To his surprise, he found 2 bottles of whiskey and a food container inside that didn't belong to him. He took those items out and gave them to the coordinator. After that, he left because Kevin and his friends had already started the 15-mile trail. It began with an uphill climb, and he quickly passed them. Kevin was sweating heavily and showing his frustration. As he walked by, he had already had a bit to drink. Halfway through, there was a rest area where they could take a break. He checked in and kept going. He met up with her group at the 10-mile checkpoint. He gave her friends some water, then walked with everyone to the finish line. When Kevin finally arrived, he asked for his drink. To his surprise, the coordinator gave him a plastic bag with his food but no drink and reminded him that alcohol wasn't allowed during the hike. Kevin complained loudly that he would get back at them, and soon after the real joke started. "Did you tell Victoria all of this?" "Yeah, I did. She said they were just kidding when they made me fall through that trap door and I hurt my ribs. I warned her that more things like that could cause problems in our marriage. And look at us now. I have a promise to keep, and I will do it gladly." Sly, there was a moment of quiet at the table. Finally, Elizabeth said softly, "I don't envy you. I never let myself get close to Kevin or my family. Kevin sometimes teased me for that. Now I see why. I admire your patience and kindness, and I think Victoria is foolish and does not appreciate you." Elizabeth blushed as she continued, When I first met you, I didn't understand why Victoria liked you so much. As time passed, I got to know you, and now I would really like to have a chance with you. I know it's early for both of us, but after all of this, I really hope we can try." Peter was shocked. He stuttered, "I don't know what to say. This completely surprises me." "How long have you felt this way?" "Since you stood up to my brother when you hurt your ribs. I had already liked you a lot. Do you remember when I checked the tape they put on your chest? That was the first time I saw you without a loose shirt. You looked great, and I realized how wonderful you are, inside and out. Don't worry, I told Victoria the day after it happened. Too much information, Elizabeth. Can we take things slow? We're not even divorced yet. I'm not sure if I want to start a new relationship right now. Also, it's possible that after all this, you might not feel the same about me anymore." Elizabeth felt a bit disappointed, but understood him. She quietly replied, "Of course I understand. I'm sorry I got carried away." Peter smiled gently. "You're forgiven. We'll see what happens. But right now, I'm feeling upset and frustrated. I don't want to deal with that situation or your brothers anymore. So, a simple question. What do you want for dessert? And please don't say it's me." He smiled, to show he wasn't upset with her. Monday, a week later. The mood in the house was tense. The week after what Victoria called the incident, Peter was distant, only answering questions about their daily life. When Victoria wanted to talk about their relationship, Peter often walked away. This morning, just like the past week, Peter left before Victoria woke up. As she entered the kitchen, she sighed and thought, "This can't go on forever. We need to talk at some point. Maybe I can talk to him this evening." As was usual since they got married, Peter had coffee ready when Victoria came down. She loved the strong coffee and was preparing for her day when her daughter came home. Victoria braced herself. Miranda had a way of sensing her feelings and could often tell when something was wrong. Miranda noticed her mother and said, "What's wrong? You look upset. Your dad and I had a big disagreement." Miranda had an idea of what it might be about, but waited for her mom to explain. "Oh, what happened? We played a practical joke, and your dad didn't take it well. Now he's been ignoring me all week. He won't talk to me, refuses to have dinner with me, and even sleeps in the other room." "So Dad is really upset with you? It must have been quite a prank." Victoria took a deep breath. "We had a family gathering, and Peter went to visit Elizabeth and Kevin, like he often does. When we got there, Henry gave us a signal. While your dad was in the shower, he heard some noises from us. I was in a situation that could easily be misunderstood. We thought he would laugh, but instead, he filmed everything before coming downstairs again. He stayed down there until Uncle Kevin came down too. I'm not sure what happened, but when I finally went down, Peter was in an argument with Kevin. It got me, and Henry and Charles tried to help, but it didn't go well for them either. I guess Aunt Elizabeth has already talked to you." "Yes, to say she was upset would be an understatement. What do you want to do now? And what about Dad? Is he really not speaking to you at all?" Victoria started to cry. "No, the only thing he said was that as soon as he finds a place to stay, he'll leave me." Miranda looked at her mother, shock on her face. She almost whispered, "Mom, I'm sure you're not telling me everything. It must be more serious, otherwise Dad wouldn't be acting like this. Please tell me everything." Feeling defeated, Victoria shared the rest of the story. There had been an incident with Kevin, and Peter had recorded it on his phone. Miranda was surprised. "I won't say much, because if I do, I might say things I don't mean later. I'll leave you to figure this out. Goodbye, Mom." With that, Miranda walked out the door without looking back at her worried mother. Later that afternoon, Victoria returned home from work. She opened the front door with a strong will, ready to talk to Peter and clear the air. Victoria knew she needed to say sorry and encourage him to think again, but she hoped he would be open to listening. She quickly went upstairs to change her clothes. After a refreshing shower and putting on some perfume, she felt good about how she looked. Dressed nicely, she checked herself in the mirror and felt a boost of confidence. Satisfied, she headed to the kitchen to make Peter's favorite snacks. In the kitchen, she spotted Peter's keyring, and a wave of worry hit her. She rushed to the spare room, but it was empty, as if Peter had never been there at all. Panic overcame her, and she went back downstairs, collapsing onto the couch. She sat there feeling the weight of time. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Victoria stood up to answer it. "Who is it?" she asked. "Special delivery for Mrs. Van Rye," came the reply. "Just leave it at the door. I'll get it later. Sorry, ma'am, I need a signature." Victoria opened the door to see a young man in smart clothes holding a nicely wrapped box. As she signed for it, she asked, "Do you know who it's from?" says here it's from your husband. Have a good evening, ma'am, he replied and left. Victoria's heart raced. Could it be that Peter had changed his mind? Could he be ready to forgive her? She opened the box and found 2 sealed envelopes. When she opened the first one, something fell to the floor with a soft thud. She looked down and saw Peter's wedding ring. Opening the second envelope, she found divorce papers. It felt like the ground had vanished beneath her. She had never felt such heartbreak. There was a short note, just one line. Maybe now you understand. The envelope also had a restraining order with copies sent to her brothers and brother-in-law. The second envelope contained pieces of Peter's diary. But Victoria's mind was already in chaos. She never knew how deeply a simple act could hurt someone's heart. As night fell, her phone rang, pulling her out of her thoughts. Victoria, here. What's this about a restraining order? Her eldest brother asked, nearly shouting. Peter is very upset with us. He sent me divorce papers wrapped as a gift. Divorce papers as a gift? What kind of joke is that? Has he lost his mind? It's a response to everything we've done to him over the years, the note said. Maybe now you understand. What's wrong with him? Why would he say that? It's about the last prank we pulled. Kevin embarrassed himself and Peter recorded it. I can't make him see it was just in fun. He feels betrayed, and that's what matters most to him now. He stopped all contact, and I noticed his things were gone just before I got my gift. What's his reason for the divorce? I'll check. Victoria looked at the papers and gasped as she read aloud, prolonged emotional pain and claims of cheating. Henry was silent for a moment, then said, I'm going to speak with him. No one treats my sister this way. If he can't take a joke, you can't do that. Remember the restraining order. His prank hurt a lot, and we did things that were much worse to him. I'll consider it. A few weeks later, Peter was getting the plans and budget ready for what he hoped would be his company's next big project. It was late when he decided he was done with the project. As he hit the send button, he finally felt a sense of relief. For the first time in weeks, his deep anger was starting to go away. Since he was working late, the whole building and parking lot were locked up. Peter had to call security to let him out, but first, he got a coffee card for the espresso machine in the break room. The security guard had to come from their office to help him out and open the gate for his car, as they needed to check who was leaving. While he waited for the security officer, Peter thought about his life. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. He picked up the coffee card and his laptop and opened it. To his surprise, the officer was a tall woman with light brown-green eyes and short chestnut hair. She smiled and said, Good evening, sir. I know you. You helped my son with his homework at the community center. Thank you. He's doing so well. Are you ready to go? Peter replied. And before I forget, this is for you and your colleague for the trouble I caused the last few days. Now, let me go. Thank you, sir, she said, smiling. But it's our job, not a trouble. May I ask your name? You can call me Peter. Not at work, sir. I'm Meredith Green. Well, Meredith, I would love to invite you to dinner, but I think that might not be a good idea. I'm not feeling great right now anyway. Meredith smiled gently. There is no Mr. Green. Tobias's father left before he was born. Here you go, sir. She opened the door for him and watched as he walked to his car. Suddenly, he noticed shadows moving, and 2 people came toward him. Meredith quickly pressed the alarm. The lights in the foyer and parking lot turned on. One of them hit Peter, and both ran away, trying to climb the fence and hide. Within minutes, the police arrived with Meredith's colleague and began looking around. An hour later, the 2 men were found and taken away. Peter said goodbye to Meredith. He felt a bond with her as she talked about being independent and hoped to see her again at the community center. With his mind on Meredith, he opened his car door. He heard a quiet sound and turned his head just as something hit him on the side. Just before he blacked out, he heard someone say, Can't take a joke, huh? When Peter came to, he was lying on his side, leaning against something soft. He felt pain in his head and sighed. A kind voice said, Stay still, Peter. The ambulance will be here soon. They hit you pretty hard. What happened? He managed to ask. You were attacked. They ran away when I set off the alarm, but they're still on the property. The police are looking for them, Meredith explained slowly. Peter started to think more clearly and gave a weak laugh before wincing in pain. Ouch, they really got me. I wouldn't be surprised if they were connected to my almost ex-wife. The ambulance arrived and a medic checked him. That must hurt, she said as she looked at his ribs. You bet, Peter replied, through clenched teeth, sweat forming on his forehead. We need to do some x-rays to check things out. I'll give you something for the pain so you're more comfortable during the ride. Peter nodded as the medic carefully gave him a pain relief injection. Soon he felt a wave of calm wash over him. When he woke up again, he realized he was in a hospital bed, feeling very tired and confused. He saw Meredith and his kids looking worried. What's wrong? He asked softly. Miranda spoke up. Mom is outside with Aunt Elizabeth. They want to see you. Sorry, kids. I don't want to see your mother. Not now. Besides, there's a restraining order. Meredith, please tell them to go. Let my sister-in-law know I'll call her later. The doctor came in just as the others stepped out for a moment. With the door open, Peter heard the two sisters arguing loudly outside. Victoria was frustrated as she said to Elizabeth, Didn't it cross your mind to warn him or the company? One simple call. Now he's in the hospital again. If he finds out it was our brothers who did this, it will be terrible. The door closed softly behind Meredith, but Peter had heard enough. He sighed lightly, which made his pain flare up again. He winced as the doctor said, You need to take care. The x-rays showed some small cracks in your ribs and serious bruises. You have a concussion, so you need to stay here for a few days for observation. Do you agree? Do I have a choice? Yes, of course. If we're finished, can you please ask the security officer outside to come in? Sure, I'll check on you later, but please take it easy. No wandering around, understood? The doctor exited, and Meredith came back into the room. How are you feeling? She asked with worry in her voice. I wish I had reacted faster. Meredith, it's not your fault. It's those two and my sister-in-law who just admitted she didn't warn me. What a family I have, Peter said, sounding a bit bitter. Can I ask you a favor? Meredith nodded. If I can help you, I will. I just overheard my wife and her sister talking about this. My brothers-in-law were involved. Can you inform the police? I don't want my kids mixed up in this. There's a restraining order for everyone except my sister-in-law. Of course. Anything else? When can we have dinner together? You're already feeling cheeky as soon as you start feeling better. The next afternoon, Peter was propped up in bed. The x-rays showed no serious harm, just some broken ribs. They had wrapped his rib cage for support, but it still hurt a lot. On the brighter side, his head felt much better and his nausea was almost gone. A nurse poked her head around the corner and asked if he could receive a visitor. Expecting someone from work, he answered, Let them in. He was surprised when Elizabeth walked in, sat down beside him and asked, How are you, Peter? Peter looked at her and replied, I'm stuck in a hospital bed, so what do you think? Did they hurt you badly? The hospital kept it quiet, and my niece and nephews completely ignored both me and Victoria. My ribs and pelvis are bruised, and I have a concussion. Yeah, they really got to me. There was an awkward silence, and Peter felt he should speak up, but it wasn't necessary, was it? It could have been stopped. What do you mean? Don't act innocent, Elizabeth. I overheard part of your talk with Victoria yesterday. I know you knew they were planning to confront me. All those sweet words about loving me, huh? But family comes first, as always. Elizabeth's face turned red, then pale. She opened her mouth, but couldn't find the words. Peter continued, You are the only one I trusted after everything that happened. Can you tell me why you chose to break that trust? Not warning me makes you part of this too. Did you know that? Elizabeth looked shocked, her mouth working, but no words came out. Peter said, You should go. I don't want anything to do with you anymore, just like the rest of your family. Now, tell me one last thing. Do I need to ask for a restraining order too? Elizabeth quickly left the room. A few weeks later, Peter enjoyed a nice dinner with Meredith. After that night, Peter and Meredith really enjoyed spending time together. They kept seeing each other, and their friendship started to grow. During his visits, Peter became close to Meredith's younger brother, Tobias. Meredith had feelings for someone from her last job and she thought he felt the same way. They had even talked about getting married and having kids, but by chance, she found out that he was also talking to two other women about these plans. What she didn't know was that he had been forming a bond with her stepsister, Addison. Curious about her sister's date, Meredith peeked out the curtains and saw Addison with the man she thought might be her future husband. Meredith quietly walked outside, approached the couple, and tapped the man on his shoulder. He turned around, surprised to see her. Before he could say anything, Meredith spoke up, clearly upset. Addison looked confused and asked, Why are you acting like this? Meredith, distressed, replied, Addison, I just found out that I'm going to have a baby. It's his. Addison stared at her stepsister with doubt. Really? Are you sure you're pregnant? Meredith showed her sister some pictures from their trip 10 weeks earlier, saying, "Look at this." The man quickly left, and the next day they learned he had vanished without a word. During this time, Peter and Meredith became good friends. They enjoyed being together, and many people thought they were a couple. As time went on, they grew closer and became good friends. Still, they realized that a serious relationship might not work for them. Some of their differences made it hard for them to be a couple. In some ways, they were too different, yet too much alike to be together. This situation continued until a few months later when Peter received a call from the CEO of Global Constructions. When Peter arrived at the office, he was greeted by the CEO and shown into his office. Without wasting time, the CEO asked, "Peter, do you remember the project in Central Asia for the freshwater basin?" "Yes," Peter replied. "I remember one of the challenges was using local workers, which made our planning quite tricky." He waited patiently as his boss prepared to share more information. After a short pause, the CEO continued, "This needs to stay between us. There are serious issues happening over there. People are leaving even though we pay them more than usual. The project is almost at a halt, and costs are going up a lot. I need someone on site who can help fix this. The future and reputation of Global Constructions depend on it." Peter nodded, ready to hear more details. The CEO added, "You don't make this easy for me, do you? Here's the plan. I'd like you to go. You will have complete control of the situation while you are there. You will receive extra pay, 150% more on top of your salary, and a bonus if you do well. Within a year, I will arrange a place for you to stay with someone to help. Lastly, I'm going to step back from my role. If you succeed, I see you as a possible future leader." Peter was surprised by this chance. He had not expected to be considered for a higher role, especially not for the CEO position. He asked, "When do you need my answer, sir?" "About 5 minutes ago. If you agree, you will be on a flight to Tbilisi tomorrow." "Okay, I'll do it. I need to say goodbye to a few coworkers, but will keep my plans vague. One more thing. Since this is private, could the extra pay be given as a bonus later? I'm in the middle of a divorce, and I don't think she should get any of it." "That can be arranged. Let's shake on it." Peter and the CEO shook hands. Then Peter went home to pack. First, he called his kids to let them know he was going away for work and didn't know when he would be back. Miranda told him about the family drama. After the two uncles were found guilty, Uncle Kevin had packed his things and left without telling anyone, taking all of his money with him. Elizabeth and her mom were still trying to deal with the divorce. After half an hour, they promised to email him updates. Then, he quickly finished packing. The hardest part was next. He called Meredith to see if they could have lunch together. When they sat down in a restaurant, she said, "You're going to tell me something I might not like." Peter waited until their food arrived and answered, "Yes." Meredith jumped in. "You found someone else and want to break up with me?" "No, that's not it at all. It's about work. I can't share details or tell you where I'm going, but I will be away for a while." "That sounds tough. I love you and will miss you. I'll wait for you, but the secrecy worries me." "Can't you tell me anything? Just telling you that I'll be gone for an unknown time is a lot already. Please don't mention this to anyone." Peter explained, "I also need to tell you something else that's hard for me." "I'm listening," Meredith said. "You said you would wait for me. The truth is, I don't know how long this will take. I can't ask you to wait forever. If you meet someone special and see a future with him, please don't hesitate. I want you to be happy. I'll be the first to wish you both well. Just be honest with me. Send me a note to let me know." Meredith's eyes shimmered with tears as Peter shared his feelings. After that, he drove her home, wanting to see Tobias briefly to let him know he would be away for a while. As he walked back to his car, Meredith ran after him. She embraced him tightly. "You know that I love you, right? Please be careful. I don't like all this hiding. Whatever happens, I want to see you again." Peter reassured her, "I promise. I love you too. Don't worry, I'll be back." The next day, he boarded a flight to Schiphol Amsterdam Airport to connect to Tbilisi in Georgia. Once settled, he prepared for the journey and started to work. After takeoff first, he quickly checked the project finances. As he dug deeper, he saw that local workers were getting paid in cash, but the money to pay them came out weekly in euros. This made him wonder why not use manat, the local currency, and why hadn't the main office caught this? A few hours later, as the plane began to descend, another thought hit him. Peter made a note and set it aside for later. After landing, he needed rest. 6 hours later, he took off again. During this flight, he reviewed his original plans and budget. Then, he checked the project quote. After 9 hours, he cleared customs and was greeted by a man holding a sign with his name. After confirming his identity, the man handed him a set of car keys, some paperwork, and a sealed box. He pointed to a parked Toyota Land Cruiser and walked away. Peter pressed the key fob, and the Land Cruiser responded. The car was older and not flashy, which was just what Peter wanted. Inside the car, he opened the box. It contained a small antenna, a satellite internet router, a Chromebook, and a GPS device. At the bottom was an envelope. Peter knew what it held. Now it was time for the drive into Azerbaijan. He opened the envelope and took out his authorization documents along with a key ring holding several keys. Lastly, he found maps and GPS coordinates. He entered the coordinates into the navigator and began the last part of his journey. The first part of the drive was easy and went quickly. After 150 miles, the GPS told him to take an exit, and he left the highway. The road soon became rough and harder to navigate. Fortunately, the car was up to the challenge, and after 5 tough hours, he neared his destination. Suddenly, he heard strange sounds echoing through the mountains, which surprised him. He looked up and saw some dents on the roof of his car. He pressed down on the gas pedal, and the car sped ahead. Just behind him, debris started to fall onto the road, reminding him to keep moving. He drove faster. It seemed that the danger had passed, and finally he reached his destination. A house built into the mountainside, allowing for a good view of the area and the road leading to it. He got out of his car and steadied himself against the door. The rush from driving was intense, and he struggled to stay calm. When he heard a woman behind him shouting, "What are you doing here?" Peter wanted to turn around when she ordered, "Wait." He understood her message. He glanced sideways and saw a woman pointing something at him. Caught off guard, he took a deep breath as he tried to think clearly. He took out his letter of recommendation, written in Azerbaijani, from his pocket and tossed it toward her, hoping it would explain why he was there. Without taking her eyes off him, she picked up the letter and began to read. Then she asked in good English, "Why didn't you say so? Are you okay?" Peter collected his thoughts and replied, "You didn't give me a chance, did you? And no, I'm fine. Just reacting to being threatened moments before almost being swept away by an avalanche, along with a woman pointing something at me. All of this in just 2 hours." The woman's eyes grew wide. "Someone tried to hurt you? Who? Look at the roof of the car." "How should I know? Is this how you welcome guests? Who are you?" The woman answered, "I'm Aliana. It seems that I am your housekeeper." Peter looked closely at her. She seemed to be in her 30s with dark hair and light brown eyes. Her features were striking with prominent cheekbones and full lips. She wore a woolen sweater and loose pants. He said, "How convenient. A housekeeper who speaks almost fluent English? Couldn't you find a better job?" Aliana's voice shook as she replied, "No. Now, can you please come in so I can apologize for how you were treated?" Peter was sitting in the kitchen with a cup of very strong and sweet tea in front of him. Aliana sat across from him, but before she could speak, Peter said, "Please don't apologize. There's no need. I'm actually glad you were careful. My welcome in this area hasn't been great, so I understand why you pointed something at me." "That felt like too much," Aliana asked. "Do you know why they tried to stop you from coming here?" Peter thought for a moment, but decided to trust her. "It's clear you're smart and speak English well, so why are you my housekeeper when you could be an interpreter instead?" "I'm an accountant and I studied English. When I applied for jobs, they had extra requirements." "What kind of requirements?" Aliana's expression changed. She said, "They had strange expectations." "What? People working for global constructions?" Peter nearly exclaimed. Aliana nodded, looking down. Peter was surprised and said, "I'll add that to my list." Aliana looked at him with concern. As Peter made his decision, "They sent me here to find out why this project is having problems. During my flight, I noticed a few things that bothered me. You are an accountant. Can I hire you as my accountant and interpreter without letting the project manager know? Everyone else will just think you are my housekeeper." "I would like that," she replied, "but I need to get home in time for my daughter. My parents are getting older and she can be a lot to handle. I don't have anyone else to support me." "I understand. Maybe a relative can help sometimes." I don't have a partner and no one wants to be with me, she said suddenly. Peter did not respond. They had known each other for just 2 hours, yet he felt a strong connection to her. What happened at the gorge? Aliana asked, happy for the change of subject. Peter began to explain, ending with, Nobody should know I'm here, but I'm worried. He stopped, glancing at the clock. Is there anything to eat and a place to rest? I'm really tired. Aliana worked in the kitchen while Peter took a quick shower. When he came downstairs, she had made a simple but good meal. She was putting on her coat when she said, I'm still your housekeeper, so leave the dishes for tomorrow. I'll wash them when I come back. Good night. Aliana walked the 4 miles to the village, thinking about what had happened. He seems like a nice man, she noticed. He looked genuinely surprised when she shared some of her past troubles, and he was kind enough not to ask more. When she mentioned it was just her and Petra, I wonder if his offer for her to be his accountant is real. Meanwhile, Peter closed his bedroom door, changed into a t-shirt, and got under a warm blanket. He fell asleep quickly. The next morning, Peter looked out at the cold, empty view. He made coffee to wake up. He was feeling tired and hadn't slept well, even though he had fallen asleep right away. Aliana promised to arrive at 8, and he thought about how she had come to his place the day before. He hadn't seen a car outside when he arrived. The door opened, and Aliana stepped inside. Peter immediately asked, How did you get here? I didn't hear a car. I walked. It's only 6 kilometers. That needs to change. I'll help you find some kind of transport. Would you like a car? It comes with the job as housekeeper. You need to go shopping, right? Peter suggested, giving her an encouraging smile. Aliana looked surprised. A car? Really? That would really help me. Yes, please, but you have to come with me. I don't know anything about cars. That's fine. We'll figure it out together. Now, have you thought more about being my personal accountant and interpreter? I have a concern about that. My parents are too old to care for Petra all day. They can help for a few hours, but anything longer would be hard, and I don't have anyone else to support me. Take her with you. Bring her to school and pick her up afterward. How old is she? I'll set up a room for her to play, rest, or sleep. She's 10. Are you really going to do that? Yes, of course. It's part of the company policy. Daycare is included if an employee needs it. So, will 4,000 EUR a month be enough? What? That's a lot? I would have accepted if you paid me that in manat. Well, here, people get paid in euros, don't they? That's what's taken out of the bank before payday. No, locals are paid in manat. Peter thought for a moment and said, All right, let's start with a car and a computer. Do you need a mobile phone? That's included as well. Don't worry about the cost. Once we have you all set up, we can start working. I want to find out why the accountant takes out euros and pays in manat. By the way, would you like some coffee? A few weeks later, Peter wanted to stay low-key, so it took some time to figure things out. He discovered that workers were paid in manat, but the money was taken out in euros. For example, if a worker was supposed to get 500 euros a week, they only received 500 manat. Peter figured this out when he and Aliana began chatting with people in the village. The exchange rate was about $1 to 2 manat, so someone was taking a cut from the wages. Now, Peter and Aliana needed proof. They believed someone was misusing the funds. They decided to involve Aliana's family because her father was respected in the village and knew whom to trust. Next, they looked into the foreign workers. Peter was shocked to see a picture of his ex-brother-in-law, Kevin Rhodes, on the list. He was working under a different name through an international job agency. Kevin was responsible for handing out the workers' pay each week. Peter knew he had to be careful. His past with Kevin could make things complicated. Peter had been in Azerbaijan for 4 months, still trying to uncover who was mismanaging the wages. He also wanted to know how Kevin had been hired with a false name and fake documents. It was tough since the information was stored in a local database that he couldn't access. His relationship with Aliana was growing stronger. Petra was now visiting their home with her mother, and Aliana would stay longer to talk. Peter grew fond of Petra. Her bright eyes and cheerful personality warmed his heart. He even started teaching her math and physics. One afternoon, while they were taking a break, Peter's phone alerted him that his private email inbox was full. He realized he hadn't checked it for at least a month. He connected his phone to his laptop and downloaded his messages while continuing his conversation with Aliana. Aliana was pleased. The quiet man was finally starting to open up a bit. Aliana's feelings for Peter were strong. He was funny, smart, and reliable. Plus, he looked good and stayed fit by jogging daily and working out. Suddenly, she noticed Peter looking her way. She asked, "What's up?" Peter replied softly, "You seem deep in thought. I was wondering why you're alone with Petra. You don't have to tell me, it's your choice. But I'm curious why someone as great as you doesn't have a partner." This was the question Aliana feared the most. She worried that sharing her truth might push Peter away. He treated her with respect and cared for her daughter too. But he was open and honest, which made her think she should be brave. If he learned about her situation from someone else, she could lose everything, and he might even help her find another job if his current one ended. Taking a deep breath, she began, "Nobody wants to be with me anymore. I'm 30 and I feel too old for the men around here. I was set to marry my uncle's younger brother, but before it happened, something went wrong and I became pregnant with Petra. I often blame myself, and since then no one wanted me. My parents hoped studying would help me find a job at GC, but you know how that turned out." Peter gazed at Aliana, feeling a strong connection. He stood up and opened his arms, saying, "Come here." Aliana was surprised but walked into his embrace. Peter wrapped his arms around her and gently whispered, "I'm really sorry to hear that. I hope what I'm about to say doesn't harm our friendship, but I must tell you, I have strong feelings for you. I promise I will help you and Petra through this tough time, however I can. Do you understand?" Aliana was taken aback. Instead of rejecting her, Peter offered his support. Tears welled in her eyes as she confessed, "But I feel so broken and unworthy." "Not to me," Peter replied. "You're a survivor, and that makes you amazing in my eyes." They held each other in silence for a while, until Peter said softly, "I need to check my mail now." He gave her a comforting nod. With a lighter heart, Aliana took Petra back to the village, while Peter began to look through his emails. He quickly deleted the junk mail and found about a dozen important messages. The first was from Meredith. "Dear Peter, this is tough for me to write. We promised to be honest with each other, and it's hard, but I need to keep that promise. I've met someone new, and he makes me really happy. He's also great with Tobias. We're planning to get married in a few months. I hope to introduce you to Frank when you get back. I know you asked me to move on while you're away. But we had something good, even if we knew we weren't right for each other in the long run. In the meantime, I've been promoted to head of security, which comes with great benefits. More importantly, I now understand more about why and where you were sent. If you need information, don't hesitate to reach out. Just use this address. With love, Meredith." Peter felt a wave of nostalgia, but was very happy for Meredith. He wrote back, "Dear Meredith, what wonderful news. It made my day. I truly hope you and Frank will be happy together for many years to come. Of course, I will come to meet him, but not anytime soon. There is a lot to do here, and it will take time. I will update you soon about my progress. With love, Peter. P.S. Please give Tobias a hug for me." Peter received 2 emails from Victoria and 1 from Elizabeth, both wanting to talk about things. He deleted them without replying. He also got letters from his children, especially from Miranda. She missed him a lot and kept him posted on the family matters. She mentioned that everyone was finding faults with each other about their current situation, especially since 2 uncles were in jail and Aunt Elizabeth was being criticized for not warning the company about the problems ahead. One of the last emails had a large PDF attachment from his lawyer. He downloaded it and began to read. He leaned back, tears coming to his eyes. The divorce was official. He was single again. As he sorted through the documents, he saw that the lawyer had done well. Since Victoria had a good job, the support terms were fair and set for only 5 years. She received the house and a good part of their savings. The lawyer noted that the judge had suggested counseling at first, but given Peter's current situation abroad, it was not possible. There was a final document titled, "Please read me to the end." Peter opened it. It was a handwritten letter from Victoria, scanned into a PDF. He sighed deeply, reflecting on everything, and began to read. "Dear Peter, I think you deleted everything I sent without looking, and I can't blame you. You must feel hurt, and I understand that. The divorce papers were hard for me too, and made me think about myself. Both Miranda and Elizabeth had strong words for me, and Miranda encouraged me to seek help. These past few months of counseling have been tough, but they helped me see things clearly. Dear Peter, I have so many regrets, and I'm truly sorry for how I treated you over the years. I can't find the right words to share my feelings. I regret every joke I played on you, and I can't imagine what you went through because of it. I understand now that there's no way to fix things, and you've moved on. When I saw that being around Kevin changed how you felt about me, I knew it was time to sign the divorce papers. I just want you to know that I never cheated on you. Nothing ever happened between us. My counselor and I talked, and we believe I have a strange way of stopping my own happiness. I might sabotage what I love as a way to handle my problems. It sounds odd, but it's the best reason we found. I still love you deeply. When you come back, can we please talk like we used to? I hope I haven't hurt you so much that you can't trust anyone again. I wish you happiness with someone who makes you feel comfortable. I will always keep you in my heart. With love, Victoria. Peter thought, maybe there's some hope for her, but not with me. He took a moment to think and poured himself a drink, sitting quietly and looking at the wild landscape. The next morning, Aliana found Peter looking serious. She worried he might have changed his mind about what he said yesterday. She quietly opened her laptop to get to work. As she checked the company's bank accounts, Peter came in from the kitchen with a cup of coffee and put it in front of her, still looking troubled. She took a deep breath and said, "Something's bothering you, isn't it? Is it about what happened yesterday? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I help?" "No, it's actually good news. My divorce is complete, but I got a letter from my ex-wife that's on my mind. She wants you back." "Yes, but she knows that won't happen. I'll never go back to that." "Can you tell me why you divorced her?" Peter nodded and shared what he went through with his wife and her family. He talked about the joke that pushed him over the edge and the betrayal of his sister-in-law, who didn't tell him what her brother had done, leading to the difficult divorce that his ex-wife tried to challenge. Aliana listened with growing disbelief and then anger. When she found out that the person who hurt Peter worked here and was likely scamming her neighbors, she made up her mind to work harder to stop him. When she told Peter, he gently suggested she take a step back. Peter also said, "I got another email. It was from a dear friend. She wrote to tell me that she was getting married. She also mentioned that she had been promoted to head of security at GC, so now she understands my mission here. I trust her, just like I trust you, so I'm planning to ask her for resources that the GC staff might not know about. I have a feeling someone at headquarters might be involved too." Aliana looked surprised. "You trust me? You hardly know me." Peter smiled and replied, "Absolutely. Why?" "It's simple. A mother who is about to betray her employer wouldn't put her daughter in danger like this. Plus, I feel we might have some shared feelings." Aliana thought carefully about his words. Finally, she asked, "And what are your feelings for me?" She felt a warmth spread across her face, and she looked down, her cheeks slightly pink. Peter took her hands gently and said, "Aliana, I care deeply for you. I plan to ask for your hand in marriage as soon as this situation is resolved. And with your father's blessing, of course. That is, if you would consider being my wife." There was a moment of silence in the room, broken only by the sound of a clock ticking. Before he asked, "Aliana, will you marry me?" Aliana was taken aback at first as she realized what he asked. She leaned against him for support. Gathering her courage, she replied, "Yes. I never thought I would be someone's wife, but with all my heart, yes." Doubt filled her mind, and she stammered, "But you've kept your distance until now. We haven't spent much time together, and you're asking me this? I don't understand. Aliana, I want to respect your feelings. If you believe we should wait until marriage for any gestures of affection, I will support that. I might not entirely agree, but I understand where you're coming from." Aliana leaned into his embrace and whispered, "You are a wonderful man. I believe these things should wait until my father gives you permission and we are married. I'm sure he won't oppose you." Later that same day, Peter started writing an email to Meredith, using his satellite uplink. He explained his suspicions about the situation and requested help from the head office. He attached everything he had learned so far and made a list of supplies he needed, including someone who could blend in with the GC employees to gather information. Once he finished, he thought to himself, "Now we wait." That evening, he decided to go to the Global Constructions office, a place he had been avoiding until now, to gather information. When he arrived, he noticed something wasn't right. GC had hired a local security firm for 24/7 service, including a doorman. But there was no doorman to be seen. And during the 2 hours he stayed and watched the building, the guards remained completely still. Long after midnight, he decided it was time to move forward. He pulled out the keys he had received with his authorization and carefully checked for security cameras facing the building. After checking everything carefully, he tried the keys, and the second one opened the door. With a sigh of relief, he grabbed his flashlight and went inside to look around. He found the office of his rival, Kevin Rhodes, the site manager. Next to that office was a room with a counter and a back door leading to the rear of the property where payments were made. On Rhodes's desk was a laptop that was surprisingly unlocked. He cautiously looked through the hard drive and found the local database. It appeared that Rhodes was keeping a second set of books and using company resources inappropriately. Peter noticed it was connected to the global network from GC. He thought it might be a good idea to bring a flash drive next time to copy the database. After an hour, he had finished his investigation. He left through the back door, checking for cameras one more time. At 4:00 a.m., he sent an email to Meredith asking if it could be legal to clone the laptop in Kevin's office, which would save him the trouble of another late-night visit. He also had a personal question. What would it take to bring Aliana and Petra back home with him? He shared his desire to marry Aliana and included a copy of her birth certificate and other documents she had prepared for him. 2 weeks later, he received a reply with an address, a digital cargo airway bill, and 2 sets of numbers. After checking the information, he realized he would need a larger vehicle. A minivan would do. Peter asked Aliana to rent one in a nearby city to stay under the radar in their village. The next morning, he set off very early. The trip went well. He picked up the small container at the designated warehouse, and it was loaded into the van. The container was heavy and locked. Back at his house, he and Aliana worked together to move it inside. Late that evening, he returned the van to the rental office and finally rested his tired head on his pillow. Just after midnight, the next day, Peter enjoyed his coffee. He had been in Azerbaijan for 6 months, and the investigation was starting to show results. He waited for Aliana so they could unpack the container. When she arrived, the sets of numbers were needed to unlock the container. It opened like an old toolbox, with the top drawers for cameras and one set aside for the tools to set them up. The bottom held 2 laptops, one with a satellite receiver attached, lots of documentation, a thumb drive, another receiver, and a sealed envelope addressed to Peter with a special stamp. They got to work. The laptop with the attached receiver was a clone of the one Rhodes used, and the receiver kept it updated. The other laptop was for the results of a keylogger that was installed and for secure communication via the GC network. The thumb drive contained a message. My dear Peter and Aliana, I'm so glad you two have found each other. Inside the envelope for Peter are the documents needed for Aliana and Petra's visa when you get married. Aliana, your good English skills and education have really helped us. We've also informed the consulate. Now for some important news. As long as the laptop with Rhodes is owned by GC, we should not have any legal issues. It's connected to the GC system, which allowed us to make a copy and set up tracking software. Just remember not to use the copied laptop for anything other than checking it. Anything you do on it will show up on the original. I have arranged for someone to watch Rhodes closely. This person will stay hidden until the investigation shows clear results. They have significant influence in Azerbaijan, which is why we could supply you with the needed tools. When I shared your concerns, they quickly agreed to help. Please be careful. Rhodes has an insider in the GC offices. We know their identity and will act as soon as you can prove Rhodes is misleading us. Stay cautious. Rhodes is a threat. He is likely linked to the odd events that happened when you arrived. We are still unsure why he didn't follow up on that. Possibly because of Aliana's uncle, who wants things to stay calm. With love, Meredith. A week later, just after midnight on Sunday, Peter began the hardest part of his job. He arrived at the GC offices and entered through the back door. This time, he was relieved to find that the security company was not present. He had spent the week establishing a steady routine and noticed that the security checks were not thorough. After hours, their last round was always well before 6:00 p.m. He also ensured there were no cameras or security systems in place. Peter quietly sat behind Kevin Rhodes' desk, thinking about where to place the cameras to capture everything happening in the office and where to hide the transmitter. After careful thought, he started his work. It took Peter 3 nights to set up 6 cameras, 4 in Rhodes' office and 2 in the area where salaries were handled. When he tested the setup, he saw the laptop screen clearly and could observe all the actions involving money as it was sorted into envelopes. On the third night, early in the morning, as usual, Peter carefully cleaned up after finishing when he heard the sound of a key in the front door. Quickly, he concealed his tools and turned off his flashlight, and he quietly slipped out the back door and vanished into the darkness. With his heart racing, he settled into his rental car. That was too close for comfort. He realized he had let his guard down. Thankfully, he was finally finished. Now, Peter just had to wait to see what would happen next. Around 8 o'clock, he returned the rental car and walked a few miles to his own vehicle. Along the way, he noticed someone in heavy clothing trailing behind him. Peter decided to walk into a small square. In the square, he spotted a little cafe with some tables outside where people were enjoying breakfast. He sat at one of the tables and ordered a cup of coffee and a simmet, a round bagel with sesame seeds that he really liked. As he drank his coffee, the person following him sat down across from him. A woman's voice said, "Meredith sends her regards." Feeling happy, Peter nodded as she continued, "You did very well at the office, but it was quite close. Don't worry, no one else noticed, and I only saw because I was checking on that door." "Thanks," Peter replied. "Meredith didn't tell me you were a woman. Nice surprise. Are you here to give me my report? Do we need to meet somewhere, or can you come to my house?" The woman looked at him and asked, "You trust me just like that? Just because I shared Meredith's message? In Azerbaijan, only 3 people know about Meredith connected to me. Me, my fiancé, and you. Rhodes knows about my past, but didn't know anything about Meredith. Yes, I think I can trust you. Do you have a name? I can give you one, but it won't be my real name. I'm here because I work for the Azerbaijani government. Also, I checked your housekeeper and her family. They're all fine, except her uncle. He is close with Rhodes. Be careful with him, he could be trouble." Peter took in the information and noted it for later. "Can you come back tonight? I need some time to rest first," he asked. That evening, the woman was in Peter's office. Aliana was away with her parents. The official had more details to share. She said Rhodes uses 2 banks besides Global Constructions. He takes money for salaries from the GC bank, then goes to another bank to exchange half of it for money. Finally, he deposits the remaining money into his own account at a third foreign bank that they cannot access. Peter managed to find the account number, thinking it could be helpful. She gave him a log, some camera footage, and a notarized record with an English translation of everything discussed. Peter thanked her as she prepared to leave, promising to keep an eye on Rhodes one last time and to stay in touch if she found anything else. Feeling confident, Peter started to make changes to improve the daily operations of the project. He wanted to help get things moving in the right direction. He asked the CEO to announce that soon someone would be assigned to the project to find out why it was not doing well. Peter had 2 goals. He wanted to push Rhodes to make mistakes, and he wanted to start managing the project himself. Payday was Saturday. The woman followed Kevin Rhodes for the last time on Friday when he went to the bank to get the salaries. She recorded everything with a camera. On Sunday morning, Peter, Aliana, and the woman reviewed the footage from the hidden cameras in the office. They saw Rhodes and a man wearing a hood giving out money into envelopes. The images were clear, and they could see how much money went into each envelope. The man turned and briefly looked at the camera. Aliana gasped, "That is my uncle. He is involved in this too." The woman replied, "Good, we can include him as well. He's the leader of a local gang, but we didn't have proof before. This is perfect." She looked at Peter and gave him a phone number. "Our agreement is still good." "Absolutely," Peter said. "I'll bring him out and you can catch him at the airport." Peter did not tell the woman about the other laptop and the keylogger. He hadn't needed the flash drive to copy the local database because of it. He had other plans for that laptop. Kevin Rhodes was very frustrated. Having someone new in charge meant he had taken risks he had wanted to avoid. He also had to pay the Azerbaijani to keep the workers in check. Now he walked into his office after a tough weekend. On Monday morning at 5 o'clock a.m., Peter was in that same office, amused about forgetting to shut down that laptop. He didn't even need the password. Peter got to work. He accessed the bank account Rhodes was using to hide his stolen money. He put all of it back into GC's account. Once finished, he changed the password for the bank account, removed the software that cloned the laptop, and also the keylogger. He took out some documents from his briefcase and waited. Kevin walked in and saw Peter sitting at his desk, looking at his laptop. "What are you doing here?" he shouted. Rhodes felt both relieved and annoyed. If Peter was in charge, he could manage things. He had already caused trouble for Rhodes. Peter smiled slightly as he said, "I've been here for some time, and I've noticed some very concerning activities. You are at the center of it all." "Like what?" Kevin sneered. "Scams and threats, for starters. I will find out who else is involved. From now on, I will take over daily operations and you will report to me." "I'm not going to work for you, no way!" "I'll be the first to leave," Peter said. He struggled to keep a serious face. The conversation was going just as he hoped. "Is that an option? How much time do you need to decide?" Rhodes growled, "No time. I'm resigning now. I'll print the form, sign it, and go." Peter handed him the documents he had ready and said, "No need for that. I expected this. Here you go." Rhodes recognized he had been outsmarted, but he signed anyway, unaware that it was all being recorded. He stood up and reached for the laptop. Peter replied, "That's company property. You can't take it." Rhodes smirked, "So sue me," and hurried out the door. Peter took out his phone, called the number the woman had given him, and said, "He's gone, resigned, and took the laptop. I need 3 days to process the resignation. After that, he's all yours. I'll report this tomorrow." With that handled, he introduced himself and Aliana to the team, presenting her as his project accountant who would review the finances. Peter asked HR to find out who had worked on the project and for how long, and to prepare a spreadsheet with the details. He explained how to calculate what Global Constructions owed everyone, assuming they had been paid twice their salaries. Once that was sorted, he asked the interpreter to join him, making sure he promised to keep quiet about what was going to happen. Half an hour later, Peter and the interpreter were welcomed into Aliana's parents' home. After introductions and some coffee, Aliana's father asked Peter about his plans for the future. Without delay, Peter shared, "Once this project is done, I want to go home with my fiancée and her daughter, whom I would like to adopt. I'd also like your permission to marry your daughter." Aliana's mother looked pleased, and her father smiled, a tear glistening in his eyes. He asked, "Do you love her? Can you make her happy?" Peter replied earnestly, "I love Aliana very much, and I care for Petra as well. I respectfully ask for your blessing to marry your daughter." "You have my blessing, son. We see that our daughter is happier than she has been in quite some time. This makes us very glad." The father's voice faded for a moment. Peter responded gently, "Aliana has told me about her past. I promise that your brother-in-law will answer for his actions. I have already planned a way to address that." Later that morning, Peter returned to the office. The spreadsheet was complete, and as he checked the totals, he confirmed they matched the amount he had transferred from Kevin's account. He went to the bank to ensure the same amount would be available for withdrawal the next morning. The rest of the day involved speaking with the staff and reassuring them that he was not Kevin Rhodes. Considering the 10-hour time difference, he called his CEO that evening. "My assignment is almost done. I just need to wrap up a few things. The people here have been through a lot because of GC. I want to help them more than just with money they are owed. I've looked at the geological report, and we can set up a fresh water well, but I need your go-ahead for the costs." The answer came quickly. "Go for it. It's not just about money. The company's image matters to me too. When will you be back?" "I'm not sure yet. We need to make sure those who didn't get paid are taken care of. Rhodes doesn't know yet, but I've put the wrongfully used funds back into the GC account. I want to give the money directly to the people. I need some time to check on the project. I also want to get married here and bring my wife and her daughter with me. Plus, we need to get the well drilled, and I want to be involved in that. Let me know when you're moving back. I will need time to pass my duties to you." After ending the call, he reached out to Meredith. Meredith Green speaking. "Good morning. Good morning, Mrs. Green. This is Van Rye. I hope you have a moment. Mr. River, I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong number. It's extension 45. Please try again." "Thank you," Meredith said before hanging up. Peter was surprised by her response. He understood that she didn't feel comfortable using his name and was looking for a different way to address him. It was interesting that she mentioned extension 45. He decided to wait. 45 minutes later, his phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. He picked up and heard Meredith's warm voice. "You've certainly made quite an impression at the main office, Peter. What a situation. I'm so glad to hear from you. Did you find out who was behind it?" "I hope we identified the person responsible, the head of accountancy. She has been misusing funds from big projects for years. We worked with the FBI to check her office and home. When you called, she was still in my office. I didn't mention your name because we weren't sure if there were others involved. Now she is in custody and helping with the investigation. Your information has been very helpful. How can I assist you? Are you planning to return soon? I expect to be back in about 3 months, Peter spoke softly. I need a personal favor from you. I don't have a place to stay. Normally, that wouldn't be a problem, but I'm coming back as a married man with a 10-year-old daughter. Is there any way you can help? Meredith laughed gently. Frank is a real estate manager. He can help you find a place. What do you need? They talked for a bit, and then Meredith called Frank to join the conversation. Frank reassured Peter that he had a good idea of what to look for. Peter mentioned he didn't have a strict budget, but a bonus was coming soon, so Frank didn't need to worry too much about spending. Peter's lawyer, through Meredith, had already sent over all the divorce papers. Now Peter felt ready to start his relationship with Aliana. He made an appointment at the embassy and planned a trip to Baku for himself. The day had been long, and Peter was both tired and on edge. The sun had set, leaving a clear sky full of stars. He put on his jacket, took out his telescope, and stepped onto the balcony to look at the night sky. He poured himself a drink and set it on the rail before adjusting his telescope. Suddenly, he heard glass break and then a quiet sound like a distant shot. Startled, Peter dropped to the floor and quickly crawled back inside. He closed the door behind him, hurried to his safe, and took out his gun. His heart racing, he made a quick call to the contact the woman had given him. The message was clear: stay inside and keep safe. A few minutes later, someone began to force the front door. Peter fired 2 warning shots, low, through the door. He heard a grunt and then hurried footsteps leaving. After a moment of silence, Peter stayed alert, his heart still racing. Soon, his phone rang. Cautiously, he answered. Yes, a familiar voice said. Peter, can you open the door without firing again? Carefully, Peter went upstairs to check through the window. He saw an Azerbaijani official standing outside. He slowly went down, opened the door, and stepped back, ready for anything. The woman entered calmly and said, We've caught them. They're both hurt. They didn't expect you to defend yourself so well. Finally able to relax a bit, the tension released, and Peter felt tired and a bit sick from the adrenaline. He slumped to the floor as the woman took charge of the situation. 30 minutes later, Aliana's car pulled up to the front door. A moment after that, Aliana rushed in, worry clear on her face. She pushed past the others and came to Peter, asking quickly, Did they threaten you? Were you just caught up in their plan? The woman was surprised by the strong reaction and replied, No, we had your uncle in custody before this all happened. I believe it was another outsider, and someone from the bank helping him. He won't escape. The accomplice was hurt and is now working with the authority. It was Friday evening. Kevin was upset. He had hired 2 men to deal with Peter Van Ree, and they had failed. Now he was on the run, waiting for a private plane on a small strip near Baku. That plane would take him to Belize in Russia. There, he hoped to manage his money from his secret account and disappear. Suddenly, he felt a tap on his shoulder. He looked around and saw a woman standing a short distance from a car. Next to the car, 3 men were pointing rifles at him. Kevin Rhodes, you are under arrest for encouraging crimes, theft, and extortion. Kevin felt scared, but the rifles aimed at him made it clear he couldn't run away. They pushed him into the car and took him to a police station. He hoped that the main office still didn't know he had left his job. Monday morning, Peter got a call from HR saying that a worker needed help because he was in jail. By chance, Peter was in Baku to buy a ring and talk to the embassy about Aliana and Petra. He was the main contact for them. That afternoon, Peter sat across from Kevin, who looked very upset. Peter chuckled. What do you think I can do for you? You'll be here for a while, and I'm not going to help. You have to help me. I know someone at the head office who is going to make things hard for you if you don't. Peter laughed again. You mean that person from accounting? She's on the case. Good luck with that. Is there anything else? Kevin's face changed from red to pale. He shrugged and smiled. At least I'll have my savings when I get out. You mean the money you took from the company and the employees? Good luck with that. But the last laugh will be yours. What do you mean? Peter didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the door and knocked. When it opened, he said, Enjoy your time here, but remember this. The one who laughs last laughs best. With that, Peter thought, good riddance, and left Kevin looking puzzled. Next, Peter went to a jeweler. With the goldsmith's help, he created a wedding ring. It had 3 bands of intertwined gold, white, rose, and yellow, joined with a rose diamond in the middle, representing the 3 people who would soon be together. For Petra, he bought a white gold ring with a small ruby. The jeweler had beautiful boxes made from mammoth ivory on display. Peter bought 2 and had them inlaid with gold. On one box, it said, "Will you honor me by being my wife?" And on the other, "Will you be my daughter?" All of it was written in Azerbaijani. The jeweler promised that everything would be ready by tomorrow afternoon before Peter's drive back. Finally, he arranged the wedding ceremony at the embassy for next week. If needed, they would have a bigger celebration in the village later. Wednesday morning, Peter arrived late, the day before, and felt very tired after having 1 drink. He set his alarm and fell into bed. The next thing he knew, the alarm was ringing loudly, waking him up. He got up quickly, shaved, and showered. He took his 2 nicely wrapped boxes and drove fast to Aliana's parents' house, where she was staying while he was away. He arrived just in time, knocked on the door, and was greeted by Aliana's father. Once inside, he found Aliana and Petra in the kitchen. Aliana ran to him and said, "I thought you left. You didn't say goodbye, and no one knew where you were." "I will never leave you or Petra. Can we sit down?" Peter said softly. Aliana's mother set a cup of coffee in front of Peter, along with some bread and honey. Peter thanked her kindly. He looked into Aliana's eyes and said, "I bought you a gift, and one for Petra, too." He handed the boxes to her and Petra. Aliana's parents wanted to leave, but Peter asked, "Please stay. You might want to see this." Aliana unwrapped the gift and saw the small box, reading the words inside. Her face changed from surprise to joy, then to surprise again. Her mother looked over her shoulder, saw what it said, and started to get emotional. Aliana nodded, also with tears in her eyes, and said, "Yes, I will be your wife because I love you." She opened the box and was amazed to see the ring. Her mother exclaimed, "Oh my goodness, it's beautiful." Petra, having opened her gift, understood what it meant and hugged Peter tightly, saying, "Yes, Daddy." Peter felt emotional too. Aliana's mother hugged him warmly, and her father gave him a firm handshake. Peter explained, "We need to marry at the embassy so I can adopt Petra. All the paperwork is ready. When we return, we can celebrate here if you want." Aliana shook her head and said, "I only want to celebrate with you, Petra, and my parents. The others didn't treat me well after my uncle. We won't have a party for those who don't deserve it." A week later, after a busy week for both, Peter had a project to catch up on, while Aliana received a letter from a woman about the Secret Service. While looking through her uncle's house, she discovered a will from her grandfather. The will said that half the land he claimed was to be shared with her parents, along with the water rights. Her mother was very upset, and Aliana had to keep her away from her aunt. Finally, Peter opened the door of the hotel. They left their luggage and went to the embassy. There, in a small ceremony, they exchanged vows. After that, they completed the adoption papers for Petra. Later, they explored Baku like tourists. After dinner, they returned to the hotel. On the way back, Aliana seemed quieter and a bit nervous. Peter noticed this, and once they were in their room, he turned to her and asked, "Is something bothering you? Please tell me." Aliana stood there, with her arms at her sides, her head lowered, and her eyes looking down. She tried to find her words. Peter held her softly and said, "Are you feeling nervous?" "I am a bit." "That's okay." Aliana shook her head and spoke, "I'm scared. I've never been in a situation like this before. I'm afraid you might not think I'm good enough. Don't worry about that. We'll learn from each other and find out what we both like. You are always enough for me. I think you're amazing. How about you take a bath to help you relax? Would you like something to drink?" Peter helped her with her coat before stepping back to give her some space. Aliana replied, "No drink, I'll take a quick shower, then we can both relax." After her shower, Aliana lay on the bed under a light sheet. After his shower, Peter joined her, wearing modest clothes. He could see the outline of her sheet. Standing at the end of the bed, he asked, "Can I sit with you?" Aliana looked a bit uneasy, but said, "I'm your wife. I trust you." Peter gently assured her, "Let's take our time and just be close." Aliana moved a little closer. Their bodies lightly touching, Peter wrapped an arm around her and placed a soft kiss on her head. She looked up at him, and they laughed together, easing the tension. He joked with her playfully, and they both felt more relaxed in each other's presence. Peter and Aliana sat close, sharing quiet moments of warmth. Peter softly reminded her, "You know I love you, and I will never hurt you. We can go at your pace." Aliana smiled, her nerves calming as they continued to embrace, enjoying the peace of being together. They spent time relaxing, savoring the closeness between them, and feeling their bond grow stronger. After a while, they both lay back, looking at the sky through the window and enjoying the warmth of the moment. A sudden sound broke the quiet, and Aliana's heart raced as they felt a rush of emotion. Peter gently moved closer to her, wanting to connect in that moment. Aliana felt a wave of happiness, and the experience felt intense for both of them. They gradually caught their breath, relishing the moment. Aliana lifted her head and looked into Peter's eyes, saying, "You were right and I was wrong. Can we do that again tonight, please? I think I need a little time to rest now." That night, feeling a bit tired, Peter enjoyed some quiet closeness with her. After they finished bathing, they found comfort on the bed, enjoying their time together and the warmth that came from being connected. Peter moved softly, delighting in the little moments, while Aliana responded with gentle joy. He took his time, cherishing the shared feelings they were creating. When Aliana felt overwhelmed with happiness, she gasped and shared how blissful she felt. After a while, when Aliana appeared deep in thought, Peter noticed her distress and asked kindly, "What's wrong? Did I upset you?" "No, not at all. I was just worried that everything might fall apart, but this feels so right. These are happy tears because you make me feel so special and cared for." Feeling calm finally, they drifted off to sleep in each other's embrace. Back in the village, Aliana's parents welcomed them warmly, and Petra ran to Peter, calling him Dad. Peter and Aliana had planned a family dinner at the company's office for everyone. Peter also had a video call set up with his children. They knew about his plans to marry, but had not yet met Aliana and Petra due to some challenges he faced in the past. Those challenges were now behind them, and the project was moving forward. In a month or two, he could return home with his new family. The big television screen lit up as Peter connected it to his laptop, ready to share this new chapter of his life. Sitting together on the couch with Aliana and Petra by his side, he opened the call. The screen showed his children, and Miranda immediately exclaimed, "Is that my new sister? Oh, Dad, she's beautiful. I can't wait to hug her." "Hi, Petra. I'm Miranda, and I promise to look after you." Aliana translated for Petra, who blushed and smiled shyly. Peter jumped in before Miranda took over the chat. "Miranda, let me introduce my wife, Aliana, and her daughter, who is also your sister, Petra." After the introductions, Peter relaxed as he watched his children and Aliana bond. They all enjoyed a fun game of questions and answers. Hours passed, and when Petra fell asleep on Peter's shoulder, he decided it was time to end the call. They said their goodbyes and turned off the screen. Aliana, feeling emotional, said, "You have wonderful children. They feel like close siblings in age now. I understand how you stay so young at heart." 2.5 months later, Victoria was sitting at the front desk of Global Constructions. Originally, she had taken the job for her sister. She wanted it because Peter had gone missing, and she thought this was her best chance to find out what happened to him. After applying for the job, she had an interview with the CEO, who made it clear that her sister had lost her job for serious reasons. He warned her that if anything like that happened to Peter, she would also be let go quickly. Since her supervisor had taken a position overseas, Victoria had been promoted. She had heard enough about her ex-husband to know that people respected him, and rumors about him were circulating. While working there, she noticed a lovely woman with short, chestnut-colored hair, long legs, and sensible shoes looking in her direction. She wondered why. Meredith watched Victoria and decided to talk to her. "Good morning. I'm Meredith Green, head of security. Could we have a private chat for a moment?" Victoria felt a rush of nerves. She stammered, "Yes. Now, we're in my office. If you could come with me." Feeling uneasy, Victoria followed her. Once inside the small office, she noticed a picture on the wall. It showed Peter lifting a boy over his head, both of them smiling. She stared at it until Meredith said, "Yes, that picture means a lot to me. When you and Peter were apart, we formed a close bond. We realized we were too different to stay together, and I'm now happily married to someone else. But Peter helped me see that not all men are hard to understand. Before he left, we had a meaningful conversation about happiness. But that's not why I wanted to talk to you. Victoria felt a wave of uncertainty. The woman's honesty was overwhelming. With hesitation, she asked, "What do you want from me?" "Peter divorced me for a good reason. I know that now," Meredith responded. "Peter's coming back soon. He has decided to cancel the restraining order against you, but the others remain. Here's the important part of our talk. You work here, and we'll see a lot of him and his wife because she works at GC too. If I see anything inappropriate towards them, there will be consequences." Victoria was stunned by this news. It was the first time she'd heard Peter was with someone else so soon after their separation. She stuttered, "I understand your message, and I will take your warning seriously. I swear, I don't want to harm Peter. If I hadn't made mistakes, we would still be together. I always cared for him, but forgot to show him respect. I let others influence me too much. I want to be happy, even if it's not with me. I don't deserve him anymore." Meredith looked at Victoria thoughtfully. Perhaps she could help find a home for Peter and his family. Taking a deep breath, Meredith said, "You must know what Peter likes. My husband is trying to find a house for him and his family. Would you be willing to help us? It sounds like we both care about him." "How can you still care for him if you're married to someone else? I don't get it." "Yes, I do care for him, but as a dear friend. You have shared a history together and 3 wonderful children. You will see each other again. If you're careful and patient, you can be friends too. If you help us find a house, I will tell him about your efforts. It's a start. For now, I'll help. What can I do?" The following week on Monday, a letter went out to all employees. There was going to be a company party the next Friday to welcome Peter Van Riet back to the main office. Tuesday, Peter, Aliana, and Petra arrived after a long trip. Aliana looked a bit pale. She wasn't feeling well, and she thought it might be because she was expecting a baby, which might have started the night after their wedding. Peter's children, Meredith, Frank, and the CEO were there to greet them. Meredith had seen Aliana in many video calls and thought she looked wonderful, more beautiful than ever. The 2 women had become close friends in a short time. Meredith and her brothers had a stuffed animal that looked like a sloth, while the adults chatted happily. They took Petra under their wing. Before long, they made Petra laugh, helping her open up. The CEO told Peter to take a week to settle in. After that, they would start passing the CEO's responsibilities over to him. 10 days later, Friday afternoon. "Ladies and gentlemen," the CEO said into the microphone. The room quieted, and all eyes were on the stage. The CEO looked at the audience, knowing they were waiting for an important announcement. There had been rumors all week about a possible merger with another company. Global construction had faced some tough times over the past year due to a challenging project. The CEO continued, "To put it simply, I am getting older. The project in Azeron made me realize that I don't have the same energy I once did to run a big company. But don't worry, Azeron is doing well now, and global construction is back on track. The rumors about a sale are not true, but I will step down as your CEO." He paused to gather his thoughts. "I sent someone into a tough situation to help with that project and to support the company. They faced big challenges and worked hard to find solutions that kept us from facing serious problems. That person is now back. Not only did he help save the company, but he also found happiness. He is the right person to lead us in the future. I am proud to introduce Mr. Peter Van Riet." There was a brief moment of silence before the crowd erupted in cheers. Victoria cheered excitedly along with everyone else. Peter took the stage and the room quieted once more. He began, "I'm Peter Van Riet. Many of you knew me before I left. For those who don't know me yet, I look forward to getting to know each of you. My goals are twofold: to keep the company strong and to ensure the happiness of our employees. This begins with honesty. The CEO is being modest. I did play a role in the success of the Azerbaijani project, but I had help from Ms. Green in the main office. Green played a key role in sharing important information and organizing what was needed to tackle the problems they faced. I also had the support of my wife, Aliana Van Riet." When both women stepped onto the stage, Victoria couldn't help but gasp. She had heard about Meredith, but Peter's wife was truly beautiful. Aliana stood tall and confident, her long dark hair flowing down. She wore an elegant outfit that showed off her natural charm. In that moment, Victoria realized that Aliana was going to have a baby. The news, although not unexpected given Peter's fondness for children, stirred many feelings within Victoria. But soon she felt a wave of regret wash over her. It was then that she noticed a coworker at the front desk was trying to talk to her. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear you," she said. "I said, he seems like a nice guy. I hope he keeps his promises, the coworker replied. Victoria smiled and responded, Oh, he will. I am sure he is a great person. How do you know that? The coworker asked. I was married to him for 23 years, Victoria said softly, her tone tinged with sadness. And you're divorced now, right? If he's as wonderful as you say, what happened? Did he let you down? With tears in her eyes, Victoria said, It's a long story. To sum it up, I made some mistakes. I tried to be funny one too many times.